Hey guys, it's Mr. Win. Um, Today we're going to review domain and range. So if you're working on this worksheet, you can look at your notes from domain and range. It's what we did maybe a few classes ago. But again, the notes, there's even a video. It's all on the website. So if you need a refresher, go ahead and go back. Check that out, okay? But again, domain and range is your x and y, okay? Don't forget, you're looking at all the possible x values, all the possible y values. And we're going to look at situations with the graph. Remember, if you're looking at a discrete graph, a continuous graph, if it's discrete, you're going to label them, you're going to list all the domains. If it's continuous, you put the lowest to the highest, okay? So let's look at this first example, number 1, okay? On this page here, they're actually all continuous, okay? They do stop at a certain point, but along that line, okay, it's continuous even though it stops there. Even though it stopped there, it's continuous until that point. It's not continuous across the whole graph, but it is continuous until that point. It is continuous, okay? But what do you notice about these graphs are they continue on. You see this arrow? Okay, that means this line technically continues on and on and on, basically until infinity, okay? So let's look at how we'll determine domain and range. So domain, okay, again, domain, you look left to right, okay? You go the lowest to highest. So now I want my lowest number. So if you noticed, it's going to the left, which is this line is going to continue on forever. So it's basically infinity, right? This goes on to infinity. So it does go on to infinity. There's two ways to write this, okay? Infinity is going to be my lowest value. Remember, x is in between it. And when you do draw your inequality sign, it's always, okay, less than infinity. It's impossible to be on infinity, so don't draw your line underneath those symbols.
Will one of the librarians please call 62000? Will one of the librarians please call 62000? Thank you.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. But now I'm going to look to the right, okay? I'm going to want the highest value, because if you look at your x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It's getting higher to the right. So if I look to the right on the graph, it stops here, which is at, okay, 5. So the highest value will be 5. And if you look, this dot is closed. That means you need to draw the line underneath, okay? So that will be the domain and range, or the domain here. Infinity is your lowest, okay? It goes to infinity. Oh, excuse me, negative infinity, sorry. Negative infinity, x is between negative infinity and 5. Now there is another way to write this, okay? You can flip this. If it goes into infinity, it's also saying that x is basically always less than negative 5. It goes forever. It's always less than negative 5. So your answer, okay, may be seen and written as just x is less than or equal to negative 5. Okay, just think, what makes sense, right? It's going on forever. The x values, if this graph keeps going, I'm going to be able to look at every single possible value, all right, towards negative infinity, because this arrow showed me that it keeps going. So x is less than or equal to 5. Okay, you can write the whole negative infinity. Just know that both ways are going to be written. You may see both. Okay, so now let's talk about range. Range again is your y values. All right. So if range are your y values, you're going to look up and down. Okay, because if the vertical axis, the up and down axis here, is your y values.
Ms. Harmon, please call extension 62002.
Excuse the interruption again. Okay, so here, I want the lowest y. Always go lowest to highest, okay? On these graphs, continuous, lowest to highest. So the lowest is going down. So I'm going to follow my graph and go down until I see the lowest. Well, this is going to keep continuing, right? So we know, again, the lowest is going to go out to negative infinity, all right? And then let's put our symbol. We know y is between there, all right? And then the highest will go up. Notice, keep going on the graph. The highest value is this point, right? That's the highest value this graph is going to go. And if I go over to the y, it looks like it's going to be at 2. So I'm going to draw a symbol 2. And again, it is closed, a line underneath, okay? But just like before, this line is basically saying you start, okay? The whole graph, all the y values, is never going to go above 2. It starts here, you measure it here, and it goes on down and down forever and ever. So this is also an acceptable answer, okay? That's also an answer you may see. Y is less than or equal to 2, okay? And let's let's see. I want to do one. If you notice, look at number 9 here. Okay, it's going to continue both directions forever and ever, right? It's going to go both, right? So if I look at the domain, it's going to keep going to the left. You'll notice that it goes all the way to the left, all the way to the right. So you would write all real numbers, okay? It means every single number possible. So you'll see that term, all real numbers. Make sure we recognize what that is. And if you go up and down, okay, we're talking about range now. You look up and down. If you notice the graph, it does go down, okay? But do you notice how it's kind of curving, getting closer and closer and closer to 2? And this is also getting closer and closer to -3 here, okay? So that's actually going to be our range, okay? It gets closer and closer to -3, so -3 is our lowest, but this graph is actually never going to touch it, okay? So we're going to write the symbol. It doesn't include -3. You'll get closer and closer, but it won't touch -3. Those are your range, your Y values. And if you look at the other way, okay, it's going to get closer and closer to 2, but never touch it. So the highest value would be 2. So your domain would be all real numbers, because it's going, if you look left to right, it's going to go on forever. But if you look up and down for range, it gets closer and closer to +2, all right, but doesn't touch it, and it gets closer and closer to -3, but doesn't touch it. So our lowest is -3, highest is +2. Okay, and there's also going to be ordered pairs. These are your discrete, these are just points. So again, remember that you're just listing the x's and you're listing the y's. Okay, so domain is x, so it's right here, 1, 3, 2, 0, 7, but list them in order. So if I write them as a list, 0 is the lowest, then I got 1, then I got 2, 3, 7. All right, this is a discrete graph. For range, again, list them in order, but lowest to highest. So it looks like 1 is going to be my lowest, and then it'll be 3, and then it'll be 5, and then 6, and then 8. Again, these are discrete graphs, so you just list them. Ordered pairs, points, whatever, you just list on domain and range. When it's continuous graphs, now it doesn't have to be continuous across the whole graph, but it's continuous at a certain part. I want you to tell me the domain and range of that continuous part of that line, okay? All right, that'll be it.